Applying worship to marriage becomes honor. Remember Ephesians 5:25. It says, "So again I say, each man must love his wife as he loves himself, and the wife must respect her husband." So honor is an act of worship to God. When I honor my spouse, I am worshiping God. And we're going to talk about that in detail tonight. Then you have fellowship. Applied to marriage becomes relational intimacy. That's how I relate with my spouse, right? How do I have fellowship in the context of my marriage? It says, "For this cause a man shall leave his father and mother and shall cleave to his wife, and the two shall become one flesh." So that relational intimacy is how we become one flesh together. Then you have discipleship, which is having my character molded and shaped to be like Christ. Apply that to marriage, it becomes spiritual intimacy. It says, "Husbands, love your wives, just as Christ also loved the church and gave himself up for her, that he might sanctify her, having cleansed her by the washing of water with the word, that he might present to himself the church in all her glory, having no spot or wrinkle or any such thing, but that she should be holy and blameless." And again, it's that idea that my spouse is probably my best spiritual partner because my spouse sees how I live all the time. Therefore, are we speaking into one another's lives and helping one another to have our character grown to be more like Christ? That creates spiritual intimacy. Then ministry, which again is serving the body of Christ, serving other people with the gifts that you've been given, applied to marriage becomes partnership. So husbands ought also to love their own wives as their own bodies. He who loves his own wife loves himself, for no one ever hated his own flesh, but nourishes and cherishes it, just as Christ also does the church, because we are members of his body. So it's the idea of taking the way that God has gifted me and using it not only to serve my spouse, but to help us form a team together so that we can serve other people as well. And then finally, we have evangelism or mission, which applied to marriage becomes message. He says, "This mystery is great, but I am speaking with reference to Christ and the church." In other words, when people look at our marriage, they see something of the gospel, if Paul can make this comparison. So when they look at our marriages, do they see hope because of the way we relate to one another, because Christ has so changed our lives? Or do they see a sense of despair that says your faith doesn't even touch your marriage? So how would that have any impact on my life?